And how
Yeah.
long would it take you to write a 2,000 word short story? If you have inspiration for an idea, can you just bang one out in a day, for example?
Oh my gosh, no, I wish I could. I'm not one of those writers. I wish I could bang one out in a day. Probably a week. I could probably do a 2,000 word short story in a week. It takes me a while. I have OCD like most writers. I obsess over the words. Oh,
Hmm.
this word's not right, or this character wouldn't say this. But yeah, probably within a week.
Okay, interesting. Now, talking about writing and word counts, in terms of the difference between writing the long form, you've published one novel and you've written others, and
Mhm.
as we know, you've written many short stories. What are the differences that you found depending different challenges for writing long form versus short form?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in one sense, certainly in this sense anyway, short stories are harder because you have a very limited area, right? You have, say, 5,000 words where you have to have a beginning, middle, and end, just like any story, whether it's a 80,000 word novel or a 5,000 word short story. So you still have to write and tell a cohesive, interesting story that people want to read in 5,000 words versus 80,000 words. So your characters, everything is very, very compressed in a short story, right? Whereas a novel, again, we'll say 80,000 words, because I think that's what mine was, 80, 85. You can go off into various subplots, you can get into the characters much more. You don't have that longitude and latitude in a short story. You got 5,000 words, man. You got to tell it and keep the reader engaged. But that's what to me is cool about it is that you go right from the get-go, right? Your first sentence, and I try to do this. My first sentence hooks that reader because I know I only have a few thousand words to tell my whole story, so I want to bring them in.
Yeah.
Um, so it's I like that challenge.
Yeah, I think it's if you can equate it to sort of athletics, it's like comparing the sprinter to the marathon runner. You know the short story is the sprinter. You've got to have a good start, otherwise you're
Yeah,
screwed.
that's
and
right.
you've got to get over the line, and there's that distance you've got to cover.
Yep.
But you do it quickly. Whereas the marathon runner, it's that long hard slog to get from A to B, but you can even take little detours on the way, but you've still got to get over that long distance. I think the advantage as a writer, unlike the athlete, is that we can do both. Right? You don't see sprinters doing marathon runs, and you don't see marathon runners doing sprinting unless it's a very low level.
Right. No, you're exactly right. That's a perfect analogy. So it's nice to be in the world of short stories, but I also like writing novels. I mean, I'm working on one right, like I say, my internship novel right now. So I work on that, and if I get stuck on it, I switch to a short story. I probably have 20 short stories in various stages of gestation. So there's always something to write.
I personally haven't. I haven't written a lot of short stories, certainly compared to both of you. I've written a few. One that I wrote recently was it more came from I had this idea for a story, but I was thinking that it would have enough legs for a novel, but I just couldn't find the way to make it carry through the duration of an 80,000 word novel. But I loved the concept of the story, so I ended up writing it as a short story, and I think that's where it deserves to live. I got it off my chest. I stopped thinking about it constantly. Wrote the short story, put it to bed, and then I could move on to other ideas that would have enough legs. Do you find that a lot of the short stories that you write, Ed, are snippets? There, it's a concept, it's an idea. Thing, I need to deliver this idea quickly. It hasn't got all the extra layers that are required for a novel, but it's very well suited for a short story.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a good way to put it too, Jack. I mean, there's just a lot of stories, a lot of tales, just don't need to be 80,000 word novels. They don't need that padding. They can be told in 5,000 words or 10,000 words. For me, I like writing 8 to 10,000 word stories. It gives me a little, it's that long sprint. It's just, but it's not the long marathon. So, um, it gives me a little more time to play with words and put some ideas down, but it still keeps me from blathering on and using every adjective that I can find.
Hmm. Yep. We've spoken about short stories from a writer's point of view. What do you think from a reader's point of view? We spoke before that there must be a readership for these, to support these online magazines that are publishing short stories. What do you think it is? And this is a question I'm just throwing at you without any preparation time, but what do you think it is for readers that who enjoy reading short stories? What do they like about it? There might be some people that think I don't have the brain capacity or the patience to commit to a novel. Let's dip my toe and just experience a short story, and if I like it, I can read more of those that author's short story. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think it's just people want, right? We all love instant gratification as humans. We want to be gratified now. Make me happy now, especially in 2025, right? My gosh, this is the age of Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. 200 words, get out your ideas. So
Mm,
uh, but even before all that, I think people just like having that short, compact story. They want that tale. I mean, I grew up reading fantasy and science fiction, Asimov's, Analog, all those old uh, little paperback books that had the short stories in them. I loved reading those. That I could read it, and then, for 15 minutes, I could be somewhere else. It was definitely a form of escapism. And I think that's the same today, whether people are reading it on print or whether they're reading it online.
mm,
So I think
I think
that,
that yeah, the problem is the attention span, and so much, well, people are being bombarded with so much different forms of entertainment that is all in sound bites and small amounts, that to commit to a novel, often people just say, well, I haven't got the time to do that. And so a short story, it's like the fling and the longer romance. It's like, you got time for the fling, but you haven't got time for the protracted relationship, and it's a chance to sort of like just dip your foot into a different world, rather than the protracted sort of reading of a novel.
absolutely. And that's, again, that's one of the reasons in my collection, I put in various stories of various lengths, right? I mean, again, one uh, Whispers in the Morning Dark is about 900, 700, 900 words. Um, All Hail the Melonheads is about 8 to 9,000 words. So people, if they're like, I want to read a couple of Rosick short stories, but I have 10 minutes. They can go into the book and find those
Yeah.
short stories. But they say, geez, I want a longer story. I can have, I can have something to read too. Getting back, Jack, though, to what you said earlier in terms of snippets, or, you know, some stories should be short. There's 3 stories in my collection that have all the same characters. Um, and those characters one day will have a novel, but it's sort of right now I'm writing the short stories to almost to work up to the novel, giving people who enjoy the characters a taste of them, so that when the novel comes out, they wouldn't necessarily need to read the short stories, but they would say, "Oh yeah, boy, this is cool. We've read the short story with these characters. Now they have a novel." So
Yeah, the my short story collection effectively are the same characters from the novels, but they're just in short stories, and so it's much more like sort of small sort of snippets of the tasters, and so I just effectively then put them in as prequels to the novel series. So, but
cool.
I think one of the things that going back to what Jack mentioned about trying out a story. Potentially, though, there is plenty of times when a short story, when you write it, you just then go, "That'd make a novel," and and you just go, "Okay, now I've tested it out. I've got it into that short story. I've got the characters sort of at least penciled in. You can then say, well, okay, this is a test run now." And I think there's a lot of historic sort of credibility to that, because there's many big named authors who released stories as short stories prior to actually releasing the novel, and they actually had it published by a publisher as a short story, and then they just developed it further and had it as an actual full novel.
Let me fix my blinds here so I don't have these lights on my on my face.
Sorry, sure.
There we go.
There,
So my novel Deep Roots was actually a short story.
there you
Uh,
go.
or it the although it changed. If you would read in a short story and you read a novel, you would say, okay, I see where the novel came from.
Mm,
But you're exactly right, Harry. I mean, it was, and when I wrote the short story, I wrote that short story probably in, my gosh, 2008,
mm,
2009. I knew at the time, I knew in my heart that it was a novel. I just didn't have the skills at that time, I thought, to make it a novel.
mm.
Fast forward some years, I thought, okay, I know what to do now. I know how to make this a novel, and that's what I did. So yeah, you're exactly right.
And just finally, talking about short stories, Ed, what do you think it is that makes a great short story? Like going back to what we were saying before, I've been having issues lately. I've been having real commitment problems. I think I've got about four novels on my bedside table that I started reading, and I just thought, look, I'm just getting so cynical that I've been burnt by so many novels lately that have been highly acclaimed that have just let me down. And you have to commit so much of your time, and only to get let down after it might take me a week or two to read a novel. If I only read 10 or 20 pages at night when I'm going to bed and I fall asleep, I get through a novel fairly slowly. And then only to be very bitterly disappointed that this has been a letdown. So it's a significant commitment of your time versus a short story. And if you can be very quickly immersed into a short story and it comes out of it with a really great ending, my question is, what do you think makes for a great short story that people enjoy reading those? What are the key ingredients of a great short story?
I think that what exactly you said. I mean, it's very engrossing characters. The first line grabs you. The characters are compelling, and the ending is like, wow, well, that was an incredible story. That really makes sense. That really wraps up well. That's what I think. That's what hopefully is in my collection. I hope people and I hope readers feel that way, and that's what I try to write. That it compels them from the first sentence. They can spend 10, 15, 20 minutes, half hour reading it, and they're done. But like you, Jack, I have the same thing. I have stacks of novels. The way I do it, I don't know if you do this. I have an iPad. Not that I'm giving anything to Apple, but I have an iPad, and on the iPad I have a Kindle app. So I download. I must have downloaded. I have thousands of sample chapters from novels. So I download sample chapters, I read them, and maybe like you, I'm cynical. Maybe I've just read so much and I have a very specific taste. But if I'm not grabbed in the first couple pages, I'm done. Boom, blank, done, delete, move on to the next one. And so if I can get through three chapters on my Kindle and I'm enjoying it, then I'll go to the library or I'll buy the book. But otherwise, like you, I'm not committing time to read that novel because I don't have the time.
Mm. Yeah.
And just as an example of how bitter and twisted I'm getting in my old age, for example, I was reading a book the other day. When you submit to an agent or publisher, I've got a brand new manuscript which I've pitched over the last probably 18 months to 2 years, and I've stacked up a massive list of rejections from agents and publishers all over Australia, US, and the UK. And a lot of the time is they require you to send the first 30 pages and a synopsis
Yep.
and your covering letter. And I've been reading books lately. These are books that have been published by big publishing houses. And I read a book the other night and I pushed through to the first 40 pages and I put it down in disgust. And I had a rant to my wife saying, I can't believe it. How are these people getting published based on their first 30 or 40 pages when I feel, I've given it a fair crack and my first 30 or 40 pages were action packed. There was a hook in the first paragraph. Things were happening, whereas this dry, bland content with backstory and getting to know characters and what they're having for breakfast and, bland dialogue. How did they get picked up by agents and publishers? And I'm just screaming in frustration. Anyway, I don't even I don't know if there's a question in that. That's just me having a rant. Um, I don't
It wouldn't be
know.
like you.
Jack, we all do that. I do the same damn thing. I'll read a horror novel and I'll say the first 10 pages, this guy's whining about the girlfriend he just lost. I don't give a damn. I don't care. I want to know why I should read this novel. I don't, and I shouldn't read it because you lost your girlfriend. I really don't care. And yet this is a novel that's just getting rave reviews. I won't
Mm.
give out the name of the title, but I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I mean, I was writing better stuff 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's not just books and writing. I mean, I sat down because there's this rave reviews of Adolescence, this TV show. That's it's only four episodes
Hmm.
about a murder, and it's got these huge reviews, and everyone's saying it's brilliant, and it's getting 8.7 or whatever it is on IMDb, and you sit down and watch it, and I only ended up watching all four episodes because I just wanted to find out what the hell happened. And at the end of it, you're just going, God, this was so slow. It was so tediously slow. And you just feel as if you're just wasting your time. At least it was only 4 hours of my life. I thought, it's like, yeah. But you can have that similar, it takes me a hell of a lot longer than 4 hours to read a novel.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Although, I'll tell you, if the novels are good, if a novel is good,
Oh,
especially now since I'm semi retired, I'll stay up till 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning to finish, and I can get through a novel in 2, 3 nights.
yeah,
If,
yeah,
if it's that good, if I'm willing to commit to it, because I want to know right now what's going to happen, what's going to happen to these characters.
yeah.
Um, I tell you, I've been reading more crime fiction lately, because of that, because a lot of crime writers can do that. They
Mm.
they engage me. I want to know what's going to happen with the characters. They're good writers. So a lot of my stuff is that I read is crime fiction just because of that.
So I
Yeah.
think my rant was kind of leading to my next question in terms of I knew there was a point to it. The publishing world, traditional publishing versus self-publishing and hybrid publishing and all the various forms of publishing that are out there. What's been your experiences, Ed, in terms of self-publishing versus I know we could have a whole episode on this, but just generally, what have been your experiences?
Yeah, I've had experience with all of them, not with hybrid publishers, but certainly with traditional publishers, with getting an agent, with self-publishing, optimal prevention. My book on preventive medicine actually went through two or three traditional publishers with agents. We could spend a whole episode just on that alone. I mean, I probably got between those three publishers, I don't know, 10, $12,000 in advances that they just paid me in advance and they never wanted it back. I'm like, this is crazy. How can you run a business like this? No wonder publishers are going out of business. And so after the third publisher sort of crapped out on me, I just said, you know what? I want to publish this book. I think it's important. I think people need to know it. And so I did. I published it myself. You know, the big thing, self-publishing versus traditional publishing. Self-publishing, you have complete control, right? It's yourself. You're doing it yourself, especially now with Amazon and Kindle and not even that, just self-publishing in and of itself. You have complete control. You're not paying anybody, you're not paying an agent, you're not paying a publisher. Nobody's taking their little cut of the pie. Um, the problem is not the problem, the drawback to me is that it takes a hell of a lot of time, energy, and effort to do it. Now, less than it did because it's more automated now, but still much more than just writing a novel or writing even a nonfiction book and then sending it to your agent or sending it to your publisher and say, here you go, you do all the work. Well,
Mm.
yeah, they do all the work and they take their cut of the pie. So um, on traditional publishing, again, you as a writer, you write the manuscript, you write your story, you send it off, and then you move on to your next one and let your editor, let your agent, whoever, deal with it. So that's, I think, the pro of that. Again, the con is you don't have control of it. Your money stream is less because people are taking cuts. And it's a lot harder, right? Like you say, you can write a great novel, and if somebody doesn't think it's a great novel, it's not going to get out there unless you're a big sports figure or having an affair with a politician, something like that. You're not going to get it. The good news, again, good news, bad news. The good news is that there's a lot more mid-sized and small publishers out there than there were 20, 30 years ago. Um, the reality news is that the major publishers have been gobbling each other up, right? We
Mm,
live in the age of everybody, big fish eating the small fish, and so there's very few big publishers left. To get into the big publishers, Random House, Penguin, Tor Nightfire, you have to have an agent. They will not even look at your manuscript. You absolutely positively have to have an agent. And agents are really hard to get, especially
mm,
in the fiction world. So that makes it much more difficult. So my advice to especially newbie writers or writers that want to get into the writing business and get their stuff published, think about all these things. Think what you want to do. How much time do you have to put into self-publishing versus trying to get an agent or a traditional publisher? And if not, seriously consider a mid-size or small press
mm,
because they give you sometimes if you get the right one, it can be a great experience. Bain and Books Press, I'm having a great experience so far with them. They've been very on time when I had questions. I mean, I can, excuse me, have chats, Zoom chats with the publisher. She'll answer my questions on email. That's never going to happen with Penguin or any of the big publishers. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything in life, right?
Yeah.
and I guess there's that topic of marketing as well. There's a lot of writers might think if I can, score that dream of getting picked up by a big publisher, I can sit back and watch the money roll in. I don't have to do anything there, or the marketing and the publicity people will do it all for you. From talking to, we've spoken to a lot of authors from around the place, and they all say the one thing in common is that you still have to be very proactive and you still have to do a lot of marketing, regardless of how you publish.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, whether again, you're uh, uh, you're a big sports star or Hollywood star or whatever, yeah. But otherwise, if it's just me or you, Ed Rosick, Jack, or Harry, we have to do our publicity, whether we're getting published by Penguin or whether we're getting published by Bain and Books Press. You
Mm.
got to get out there. You got to be on podcasts. You got to do interviews. You have to market yourself. I mean, that's key. That's paramount because with the big publishers even if you do get a big publisher, and if you're Ed or Jack or Harry, they're not going to give money to us.
Mm.
They're just not. They might throw us a few bucks here and there, but they're not. Our books are going to be put in the back shelf, and that's that.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that people, emerging writers, think that if you can get picked up by a publisher, that you're always going to get an advance. That's not necessarily the case, and particularly smaller and midstream publishers, they have no capacity to pay you an advance at all. If you get sales, you will get your quarterly royalties paid to you, but unless you are lucky enough, like you said, Ed, that you did get some get some advance payments, not many publishers are able to do that these days.
No, no, not at all. I mean, especially even mid-sized ones hardly give any advances. Certainly small presses don't, as far as I know, 99% of them don't give advances. Those days are gone.
Mm.
They really are. So, which is
It's
unfortunate, but it's a truth.
And these small publishers are operating on the smell of an oily rag. Their margins are very, very tiny. So for them to make money, they just simply cannot afford to be paying the authors an advance at all, and they'll still be putting a lot of pressure on you to be as proactive as you can to help with those book sales.
Absolutely. So yeah, new authors, new writers who want to get published and stuff, they really have to realize that it's not just writing the next great story. It's how much can you market yourself? What will you do? What will you do?
Mm.
And a lot of writers, me included, I'm believe it or not, I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I like sitting at home by myself next to my dog writing. I don't like being out at bookstores or out giving talks. Doing this stuff's great because you're in Australia and I'm in the States. So, but, but seriously, it's I think many of us as writers are more introverted than extroverted. So it
Yes.
takes a lot of energy to get out and market yourself, but it's paramount to do. You really have to do it.
Yeah, it certainly can be quite confronting for people. As you say, most of us are introverts. So to get out there and put yourself out there can be very confronting. Can we now
Yep.
move on to just the final quick topic before we wrap up? We're starting to run out of time, but the topic of AI in writing, artificial intelligence. Depending on who you talk to, this has become a real topical issue. People that we've spoken to have got varying degrees of attitudes around this. Some feel like it's, Terminator territory. That it's the end of the world if we start using AI to assist us as writers. What's your general view on? And I know this is it's how long's a piece of string. There are so many different forms of AI out there, whether
Yeah.
it be
So
whether you're using spell check or predictive text or chat GPT, generating ideas or just to help you with writing. What are your thoughts?
yeah, so I think again, I'm not worried about the Terminator scene, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe one will come knocking on my door tonight. AI is a misnomer. I think most of us know, right? It's not intelligent. It's a large language model. It's a computer program that is incredibly efficient at amassing tons of data in a very quick amount of time, and then putting that data into bite-sized pieces that we as humans can understand with our little jelly brains. Um, it's not intelligent though. It doesn't think. It regurgitates. Right? Garbage in, garbage out. Remember that old saying when computers started? It's the same thing. If good stuff's not going in, good stuff's not coming out. So I think AI can be extremely useful for writers. Do I use it myself? No, but I'm old and gray. I don't I'm old school. I'm old school. But that doesn't mean I won't use it. I've thought about using it. I very well might. For instance, I'm thinking about writing a novel set in 13th century Constantinople. Man, it would be nice just to get on my computer and type and say, what was life like in 13th century Constantinople, and get something pop up. That would be very useful. Um, Rather than have to go to the library or look it up myself. So I think stuff like that can be very useful. I use spell check. I mean, there's programs out there that you can put your story in, and the program will say, well, why don't you think about using this word or this phrase or this sentence or something like that. I think that's all useful. I think what the issue is for me as a writer is new writers saying, well, there's AI out there. I don't have to work on this. I can just type in, man, I want to write, what do I want to write? I want to write a story about uh, a monster jellyfish eating Sydney, Australia. So type that in, and Chat GPT or DeepSeek or whatever AI you want to use spits out a 2,000 word story, and they say, "Oh, there we are." I put my
Mm,
name to it and send it out. Well, that's not writing. I don't know what that is.
yeah.
That's junk. And you can tell those stories. They're horrible stories. I
Yes.
mean, any of us as writers can look at a story and say, well, this was written by a human being, or this was written by a LLM or AI.
Mm.
So I think it's useful. I think for new writers, I think the temptation, if you will, is there to rely on it potentially too much. So I
Mm.
think to me that's what the problem is. One of the problems.
Can I just give you a quick example? And again, it's that slippery slope of what's ethical and what's not in terms of using AI to assist you with writing. I totally agree. These people that
Mhm.
use it for idea generations or just to spit out, give some very broad parameters and it spits out a story for you. I hate that. That's taking away the human nuance of writing. But for example, there's a book that I was using a lot. It's called The Emotion Thesaurus. I would use that to help me with, and it's a highly acclaimed book that helps writers. For example, instead of saying, Jim said this angrily, we always talk about show, don't tell.
Right,
Let's instead of saying he's angry, let's show that he's angry. So the Emotion
right.
Thesaurus, which is a highly acclaimed book, you can go to it and you can search the emotion of anger and what's the body language that a person would display if they are angry, and they will give you a page list of different ways in which you can describe a person that's angry from their internal sensations, their body language, and things they might say. Very, very useful so that you can use that as a guide to help improve your writing. I've been using, and this is an admission, I've been using AI to help with that kind of concept. I've got this software called Copilot, which just comes with the Windows suite. It just came with my computer, and I've started using it. So I might ask it, give me an example of what a man might look like who's feeling terrified. Um, just to help me with a dialogue action tag instead of saying Fred was terrified. What's another way that I can show that he's terrified? And it just generates ideas. And from that, I'm like, oh, that's a really good analogy. I might use parts of that. So, this is again, it's the slippery slope of to what extent do you start to rely on this over and over again, as opposed to I'm just stuck on this point. I want to come up with a better way of describing something. Help me with this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you nail it on the head there, Jack. Use it when you're stuck, right? If you're
Mm,
stuck, use it if you can't generate it. I think that's fine. I mean, again, you're just using this program in lieu of your book. So what?
mm,
Whether it's a collection of pages or whether it's a program. So what? Again, I think if you use it as a as inspiration, I think that's great. But I think if people start using it, at any writer at any stage, as a crutch, oh, well, I don't need to think about this. I don't need to go into the mind of my character. I can just see what AI says.
mm,
Mm.
That's I think
That's
that's a problem, and I think writers will be shortchanging themselves. I mean, that's the joy of getting into your characters, right?
mm,
Whether they're good characters or evil characters or whatever they are, it's the joy, it's the challenge. At least it is for me. I mean, I don't know about you two. At the end of the day, I write for me, and I
mm,
and I tell people that I don't write for my readers. I don't write for my wife. I write for me. I write what entertains me.
mm,
Uh, Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. I don't know, but I need to be satisfied with it at the end of the day. I need, what I put into my book, I need to feel, yeah, this is good stuff.
mm,
I'm not, we all tell new writers, don't chase the latest fad, right? If the latest fad is Bigfoot or Sasquatch, I don't know what the equivalent is in Australia, but Sasquatch romance. Don't if you want to write that, great, but don't chase that. Don't
mm,
write what you want to write.
I think
Um,
in going back to Jack's sort of like use of that AI sort of to assist. I mean, I mean, I'm a bit weird because I actually write on an iPad, and so I do one finger typing. But one of the things I love about that is I can just select the word, click on it, look up, and then I've got thesaurus options for that word. And I've used that from day one. I know it's I've and it is how is that different from that is a form of sort of similar to the AI. You're literally using a thesaurus, which is the book. It would take a lot longer. I would have to switch the light on, go find the book, open it up, go look up that word, and it was. I mean, it's just far more efficient to be able to hold down on one word and go, yep, here's some other options. Oh, that one's the one I want. Or I'll use a word and then go, hold on a minute, is that right? But you can't write your book from within a dictionary or a thesaurus, and so if it's being used as that sort of dip in to go, yeah, okay, give me a bit of a hand on this, I don't have any problem with that, because that's just like using a power tool rather than a drill driver instead of a frigging screwdriver. It's just you're using a far more efficient way of doing something, but you're the one who's building the story. And
mm,
I think that's the thing you've got to keep in your mind. As long as you're the person who's doing the building and you're just using a more efficient tool, that's okay.
mm.
yeah, that's you nailed it on the head. I couldn't say it better myself, Harry. That's exactly right.
I come out with some shit at times.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think AI will never replace the humanity and being able to draw on your experiences and memories and character development and all that stuff. I don't think will ever replace that, the humanity in writing.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, this whole issue of AI we could really tease it out in a lot more detail. Now, gents, we are running out of time, so we do need to pull up stumps now. So, Ed, thank you so much for your time. It's been a really interesting chat. I think you're one of these guests that we could quite easily just stay and
Cool,
keep
right.
chatting. Yeah, we could keep chatting. So, but sadly, we do need to pull up stumps. So, Ed, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
No, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Harry. It has been a pleasure, and hopefully we can do it again one day.
Oh, we shall do.
Look forward
All
to
right.
that.
All the
Thanks.
best with your semi-retirement and all your writing projects. And just before we wrap up, how can people find you online if they want to
Oh,
take a look at
yeah.
your books?
Right. So they can, go to ubiquitous Amazon, which runs the world. Type in Edward Rosick, Rosick, and my books will pop up. I'd rather have them go to Bainham Books Press, Baynam Books Press, all one word. Uh, Again, a great UK publisher. My stuff will pop up as will other authors that she publishes. They can find it there, or they can go to my website, www.edrosick, one word, edrosick.net, not .com, .net. And I publish free stuff on there. Free is one of my favorite words in the universe. So people can go on there and read free stuff. Right now, I'm putting up excerpts from the book, from Where the Grass Don't Grow and Vultures Sing. So people can get a taste of that and see if they like it and see if they want to spend their hard-earned dollars buying it.
And that's a really clever way of doing it, giving people a free taste of your writing. And if they enjoy your writing, they'll be more inclined to invest in purchasing your other published forms.
Absolutely.
And before we sign off, something I just remember, you were talking about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Here in Australia, we call that the Yowie. Have you ever heard
The
that?
Yowie.
Yeah, Yowie.
Hmm.
I think it's Yowie. Yeah, a Yowie is a Bigfoot. Is a
Okay, well,
a
cool.
hairy.
I'm glad they're over there too. That's good to know.
Yeah, you'll often hear about the drop bears as well.
Yeah,
These
you
these
got to watch out for the drop bears. They're the worst.
yeah, they're killer koalas. Maybe you could write a short story about the Australian drop bears. Have you
I,
ever heard of that before?
I haven't, but I'm gonna have to look that up.
Koalas are this cute little
Yeah,
marsupials,
but
but there's this urban myth that there's these drop bears, there are these killer koalas out there. So the Australian drop bears, they're a thing. Research it.
I like that. I think maybe they'll invade Michigan for my next short story.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, guys, we'll call it quits now. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next time. All the best.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Thanks very much.